There's something most people never notice about themselves, and it isn't hidden somewhere deep in childhood. It isn't locked behind years of therapy. Most of the time, it's visible in the small patterns of everyday behavior, especially the ones that happen automatically. You probably already feel the gap between the person you imagine becoming and the person your habits keep reinforcing. You picture a focused version of yourself, disciplined, consistent, clear-minded, but in practice, your days drift somewhere else. Not because you're incapable, and not because you don't care enough. Something in the relationship between your brain and effort has slowly been conditioned in the wrong direction. So gradually that it started feeling normal. You sit down to do something important, something that genuinely matters to you. And within minutes, sometimes seconds, your attention moves somewhere else. You check your phone, refresh something, open another tab without thinking. Not consciously, almost automatically. You've probably experienced this before. You pick up your phone for one quick thing, and somehow 40 minutes disappear. That isn't laziness, it's conditioning. Your nervous system learned to associate discomfort with avoidance. And in this context, discomfort simply means effort. This is where most people misunderstand the problem. They think they need more willpower. But willpower was never meant to carry your entire life. It helps redirect behavior temporarily, but it doesn't create sustainable momentum by itself. And most self-improvement advice treats it like fuel. Push harder, want it more, stay motivated. What people rarely mention is that forcing effort against resistance drains mental energy surprisingly fast. So the cycle repeats. You start the week focused, organized. Certain things will finally change. A few days later, the old behaviors quietly return. Not because you failed morally, because you were trying to solve a behavioral problem with temporary emotional intensity. And the brain eventually falls back toward whatever feels easier and more familiar. That's what habits really are. Not motivation, not discipline, reduced internal resistance. The behaviors that become automatic are usually the ones the brain stops debating, because the brain is constantly trying to conserve energy. That tendency helped humans survive for a very long time. But inside modern environments, it gets exploited constantly. You try to study for 20 minutes and somehow end up deep inside content you never intended to consume in the first place. An overstimulated brain constantly compares effort to reward. And now the easier reward is always available. One swipe away, one click away, instant stimulation with almost no friction, which is why guilt-based discipline fails so predictably. You feel disappointed in yourself. You push hard for a few days. You become extremely strict. Then the emotional pressure fades, and the old behaviors slowly return to fill the empty space again. What changes behavior long-term usually isn't more guilt, and it isn't more self-hatred either. It's identity. That word gets used so often online that people stop thinking about what it actually means. But psychologically, identity matters because the brain strongly prefers consistency. When your behavior conflicts with the story you believe about yourself, tension appears. And eventually, the brain tries to resolve that tension. This is why identity and behavior reinforce each other constantly. But most people wait to feel different before they consistently act differently. That's the trap. They attempt a new behavior for a week, don't emotionally feel transformed yet, and interpret that discomfort as proof that they aren't truly that kind of person. So they stop. What actually works is quieter than that. You begin acting from the identity before the feeling fully arrives. Not perfectly, not confidently, but repeatedly, each small action becomes evidence. And over time, the brain starts updating the narrative. This is also why environment matters far more than most people realize. You are not operating in isolation from your surroundings. Your physical space constantly shapes behavior. Every visible distraction, every app placement, every routine, every cue. Your environment is either reinforcing the person you're trying to become or reinforcing the version you're trying to escape. Changing intentions without changing cues is like trying to redirect a river with your hands. The current doesn't care what you want. And there's another part of this that people rarely look at honestly. Some forms of self-sabotage are protective, Part of the brain sees change as risk because success changes expectations. It increases visibility. It creates the possibility of failure becoming public instead of private. And for a threat detection system, unfamiliarity can feel dangerous even when the opportunity itself is positive. So right before meaningful progress, people often shrink. They delay, overthink, distract themselves, suddenly become too busy. Not because they consciously want to fail, because some older protective mechanism is trying to keep them emotionally safe. The important thing is learning to recognize the mechanism while it's happening. Because once you can see it clearly, a small window opens. Not confidence, not certainty, just awareness. And inside that window, the next action usually isn't dramatic. It's small. You stay focused 5 minutes longer. You resist checking the phone once. You begin before you feel completely ready. Those moments feel insignificant while they're happening, but repeated over months, they completely alter direction. The version of you that functions differently is not waiting for perfect conditions, not waiting for a better apartment, or more motivation, or the perfect emotional state. That version is built gradually through ordinary decisions that nobody else sees. Small moments where you act from the identity you're trying to build instead of the patterns you inherited automatically. It doesn't begin with certainty. It begins with a quiet decision to behave differently before the belief fully catches up. And eventually, the belief does catch up. If this connected with something real for you, if you watch this far, then part of you already knows something has to change. Not in some dramatic overnight way, but in the small patterns that quietly shape your entire life. So before you leave, I want you to do something simple. Comment below with the behavior you're trying to break or the version of yourself you're trying to become. I read the comments, and honestly, seeing what people are struggling with helps shape future videos more than you probably realize. And if this video gave language to something you've been feeling for a long time, leave a like. It helps this reach more people stuck in the same invisible cycle. Subscribe to Psyche Decoded if you want deeper videos on psychology, attention, discipline, dopamine, identity, and behavioral change. Because most people never fully understand what's controlling their behavior. And once you do, you stop living on autopilot.